Today's lesson's on rounding decimals, and you don't have any manipulative in your notebook today, so we're going to take some pretty thorough notes onto what kinds of numbers we round and how we make good decisions about rounding decimals. Let me bring my notebook down to a more appropriate height for me to take notes on for you today. There we go. And we're going to start with the steps to rounding decimals. Now this is very much an algorithm. It's very much a step-by-step process. As long as you follow the appropriate steps, you'll be able to do just fine. The first step is to decide your place value. And your place value is where you want your number to end. Okay? If I want my number to end in the hundredths place, I would decide on the hundredths place. If I wanted it to end in the tenths place, I would decide on the tenths place. And you're going to underline that place value, or the digit in that place, right? The last step is to go next door to the right and ask, what do I do? Right? So it's actually going to be up to the number next to the number you want to round to decide what your method is going to be. And here's what I mean. Let's give ourselves a little grid here. If the number next door is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the number you underlined is going to stay the same. And you're just going to cut off all those extra digits that are beyond that point. However, if the number next door is 5, whoops, is a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9, you're going to round up the number that you underlined by 1 digit. So anything from 0 to 4, all numbers following become a 0, right? And therefore they go away. But anything between a 5 and a 9 is raised by 1. Let's do some examples. Seven and 284 thousandths. 7 and 26 hundredths. 7 and 30 hundredths. And 128 and 95 hundredths. I'm going to round my decimals to different place values. So first I'll round to the tenths, then to the tenths, then to the whole number, and then to, let's do the tenths. So 7 and 284 thousandths. I want to round to my tenths place, so I'm going to look next door at that 8. 8 is above 5. And so I need to round my number up. 7 and 284 thousandths turns into 7 and 3 tenths. The next number, 2 and 26 hundredths, again, I'm going to look next door. 6 is larger than 5, so I need to round up to 7 and 3 tenths. The following examples is 7 and 30 hundredths. I want to round up by this number. 3 is less than 5, so it's going to be equal to 0. Therefore, my answer is 7 as a whole number. Finally, 128 rounded to the 10th place. I look at the 5. 5 is equal to 5, right? And so I need to round up. When I round my 9 up, it rounds to a whole 1's digit. It rounds to a 10. So my answer is 128.0. There's no value left there. I actually round all the way up, to equal 129. The one thing you do want to remember is that you may be asked to round to a specific place value. And this is important because when you're doing a test or a quiz, I may ask you to round to the 10th place or the 100th place or the 1000th place in some of your answers. And if you go below or beyond that digit, you will get the problem incorrect. For example, if you solved a problem and your answer was 2.5179, but I asked for all answers to be rounded to the 100th place, your true answer that you should write down is 2.52. And if you don't do that, then your answer would be considered incorrect. So please make sure you are reading directions from now on, especially on some little quizzes that are going to be coming up and your big assessments. Always look to see what you should round to. Your proof to today, let's round a couple of problems here. 3 and 127 thousandths. And we can round that to the 100th place. 2 and 100ths, or 2 and 15, 2 and 157 10,000ths, and we'll round to the thousands place. And one more for good measure, 101, rounding to the 10th place. So please take your time and round those numbers thoroughly and double check your work to make sure that you're using the rules properly and you're also rounding to the correct place value.